Gardening with kids can be incredibly rewarding, but it can also be a little challenging at times. I'm going to share 8 things that I've learned over the years that have helped them and me thrive in the garden. If you have children that are not as into dirt or soil, or they don't like to get dirty, watering is a great way to get them involved in the garden. All of them just eat it up. They could water all day long. With that being said, they do tend to overwater just a touch. So I've found that using like the rain where it has the holes rather than a watering can that has just a spout, so they don't dig like trenches and gullies in the garden, can be really, really helpful. And then I also just direct their watering a little bit. This plant looks so thirsty. Let's give him a drink. He says thank you, and then I'll move on to the next one. Oh, now this one looks thirsty. That way one plant doesn't get overloved. But just letting them water is still, even though they're not necessarily learning to grow food, it's getting them used to spending time outside and getting them accustomed to playing in the garden. So a really nice thing about higher raised beds is that little hands can only reach so far. You're gonna have some losses on the edges, but you can keep some of the more prized possessions towards the center of the beds that they can't quite reach. So put some sacrificial plants on the edges, maybe a few of their favorite plants that they do enjoy eating, and then keep the stuff that you'd rather not have them in on a regular basis towards the center of the beds. One of the things that I've learned over the years is not to plant what you think they want, but actually let them have a say in it. Look through seed catalogs and have them pick which variety of tomato sounds the coolest to them. Or let them say, I want to plant fennel, and you're like, they're not going to eat fennel. And then they are excited because they took ownership in that process and they annihilate the fennel. And they'll surprise you so often because they chose it. They'll be willing to try it a lot more willingly if they had no say in it. So flip through seed catalogs, read descriptions. They like picking by name. So like the purple dragon carrots. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to grow carrots. It's a purple dragon. What kid doesn't want a purple dragon carrot, right? Yum. So when it comes to actually planting in the garden, this is going to take practice and patience. So I've learned a few different ways to go about it when you're working with them, especially the first few times that you're in the garden. For kids 4 and up, start with seeds. They do good sticking their finger in and planting the seeds. And then if you're a little unsure about whether it's going to take, I will oftentimes just follow up afterwards and replant more seeds so that you know that they will germinate. So if they buried them a little too deep or too shallow, I usually will just wait a little while and then go back and remedy the situation. So that way they can see the growth where they planted it. And then the other thing that I found is with little hands, even when they're toddlers like this, larger seeds like peas or beans are easier for them to handle. So have them help with that instead of lettuce or carrot seeds, which are super, super tiny. Their dexterity can handle that a lot better. And for the youngest ones, if they aren't getting the seed thing too well, you can always do live plants. Believe it or not, they do really well. And if it comes down to it, digging a hole and having them plant the plant is a lot easier than them trying to understand and navigate planting a seed. So one thing that's really important is to graze freely. Even if you were planning on using it for a recipe or you weren't really intending on picking it quite yet, letting them graze it with abandon and just freely, like if they're interested in eating something, let them. I remember the first time Layla ate a carrot. We picked it out of the garden together and she was so excited, and she goes to eat it, no rinsing, nothing. It's covered in dirt. And I went to go grab it out of her hand, and then I was like, you know what? Like, this is the moment we're working to recreate. So just let them eat, enjoy it, and graze with them. Them seeing you do the same thing shows them that it's okay and that it's acceptable. So pick freely and enjoy. Children are full of wonder and joy, whether it's chicken eggs or pests or flower blooms or how amazing it is that the tomato goes from green to red. Showing wonder and joy and pure amazement at the natural world is what really can help them connect as well as us. I've also never seen my plants so caterpillar free when I shared the fact that chickens love caterpillars. They went out daily. Every time they got out in the garden, they would run over to the plants, flip over the cucumber leaves, and start looking. One thing that we have to remember when working in the garden is that we are working with children. And they're kids, and they're going to be kids. So we have to have a little acceptance, a little bit of patience. I work at her farm school, and I cannot tell you how many times the kids come running up to me with pure joy in their faces and an entire plant because they picked the plant when it was ready. I don't think we will ever get a carrot to come to full size at the school, but that's not the point. The point is to get them involved and enjoying their time in the garden. So lots and lots of patience for yourself and with them. Every time they come running up to you with something you might not have wanted them to harvest, just a kind, gentle breath and reminding them how we harvest it. We hold the plant and then we break the stem. We wait until they're red, not green. These will become repetitive patterns in the garden, but repetition is key for children. So I've been with my own children in the garden since they were born. I just took them out with me every time I had something to do. And yes, it was a little labor intensive in the beginning, but over the years, they have become amazing gardeners for their age. I've also taught at a farm school for several years now, and getting to see the joy of their faces as they try kale pops and plant watermelon seeds and pick carrots out of the garden. It's absolutely amazing. But over the years, I have learned a few tricks of the trade to try as best we're able to get our garden to achieve what we expect it to while still allowing them to explore and experiment in the garden.